Okay, this problem I'm about to do, actually I'm going to show you this little video footage. This is actually another teacher on YouTube. Have nothing against the teacher, I want to let you know right now, because I think there's something you can learn from the way that he described on how to factor. Okay, so I think he did a good job with that, but in reference to this problem, there's much easier way I think to do it, but we'll look at a little bit of how he did this problem. So we'll move this a little bit further now.
And that is your product is going to be not 9, but it's going to be the product of these two numbers here. 4 times 9 is 36. Before we just had a 1 here, so if you were to actually do that, 1 times 9 is 9, so it's easy just to bring this out.
So he's making a chart, and we're going to fast forward through his chart that he's making.
36. The product of your numbers is 36, and his difference is 9. I could continue on to 4 and 9, but I recognize this difference.
So he wrote this whole chart.
9. So, what do we do here?
And he erased it. Now, so you got to remember all that he just wrote. So that's a concern there. Okay, so then he writes again here.
So then they work
Starts
out.
working through the problem.
So what you're going to do is you're going to do this. Put something at multiply negative times negative. So
We're just fast forwarding it
by
through the
this,
steps.
you get the top polynomial.
He didn't even tell how you got the negative 12x here.
You need to factor out your GCF here, and the GCF is 4x. And you're left with x minus 3. Over here, your GCF is 3, and you're left with x minus 3. You should have the exact same parenthesis in both parts. Now that you have the x minus 3 in both parts, you can actually factor that out. You have x minus 3 times, well, once you factor it out, we have left 4x plus 3.
And there'll be your answer right there. Now let's work through the same problem, and we'll do this a little bit differently. Okay, so this is the same problem he just did. Now, the way we've done our steps, the first thing we want to do is factor. And when we're factoring, all we're doing is splitting up in smaller terms. We're just splitting up. We're just splitting this 4 here. And we're going to split it up over here. So basically what we're going to have is we're going to have 4x here, and then we have another x over here. And so we basically just split that 4x in pieces. So we've already done that. Then the next stage is we want to find out two numbers that we can multiply that's going to equal to negative 9. And so we start putting our answers over here. Can you give me some ideas of numbers that are multiplied together that would be equal to negative 9?
3 times 3.
Okay, we have a 3 times 3. Is it positive 3 times 3? Or are you going to mix them up or what?
Negative times positive 3.
Okay, so we'll just do this. We'll say a positive 3 and a negative 3. And then we can also put a negative 3 and a positive. Any other numbers? Yes.
Negative 9 times 1.
Okay, we say negative 9 times 1 and maybe negative 1 times 9. Let's start with the ones that you have here already. You have 3 times 3. So let's go ahead and let's plug in those answers and see if it gets us to what we're looking for. So we have 3 and positive 3. Let's try that one. So we have a plus 3 here, and we have a negative 3 over here. And now the next stage is what we're doing is we're multiplying the inner numbers here, which is the 3 and x. And what is 3 times x, class?
3x.
3x. So we're going to go ahead and put a 3x here. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to multiply the outer numbers here. And that is the 4 times the negative 3. And what is 4 times negative 3?
Negative 12.
Negative 12x. And now we got to use our adding and subtraction rules. We have a positive 3 and a negative 12. What would that be, class?
Negative 9x.
Negative 9x. Now here's the rule. If this matches the middle term, the problem is right. So does this match the middle term here?
Yes.
So yes, on our first try we were actually right. So we can write our problem out as x minus 3, 4x plus 3. Okay, so we have our total answer right down here. And isn't that a lot easier than what we just saw on the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very quick. So I just wanted to let you know that it can be done A whole lot easier. Okay, so what we have here is we have 4y squared and we have plus 4y minus 15. Okay, in this problem right here, he's going to explain a variety of steps in order to get to the problem, and I'm going to skip through some of these. I'm not going to play it all the way through. So let's go ahead and we'll watch through what we're dealing with.
Factor 9 doesn't go to it, we're done. Possible sums here.
Lot of
Upside
steps.
down here, so 9 I should say. We know that we want times negative 6 plus 10y by 2 and y.
You see all of the steps we're going through? All the steps she's going through. All the steps she's going through. And then finally, this is the final answer right here. Okay? See if we can do it a little bit easier. Okay, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and factor. And since we do have even numbers, we can actually factor that 4 and break it off into two pieces. It's going to be 2y and 2y. Okay? And then the next thing we're doing is just like we did before, we want to find two numbers we can multiply together that's going to equal negative 15. Can you give me some examples? Go ahead.
Negative 3 times 5.
Okay, you said negative 3 times 5. Any
Negative
others?
15 times 1.
Okay, negative 15 times 1. What about 5 times 3? Or negative 5 times 3 or vice versa. So,
the negative times a negative is a positive.
yeah, but a negative times a positive is a negative, and we have a negative here. Yeah, so we need to find the negative. It has to be a negative that we're looking for. So, yeah, all of these would be choices here. And so let's try to plug some of them in and see what we got here. So we'll do the negative 5. Let's try the negative 5 and positive 3. Let's try that one first. And so same thing we're going to do. We're going to multiply our inner numbers here. So we multiply our inner numbers, negative 5 and 2. What do we get?
10. Negative 10.
Negative 10y, okay. And then we multiply our outer numbers here, and what do we get?
6.
We get 6. Is it positive 6?
Negative 6. I mean,
It is positive 6, right? And so we have our, looking at our addition and subtraction rules,
I know, so
we subtract, what do we get?
negative 4.
Now this is negative 4y.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Is this what we're looking for? No, we're looking for 4y. So what do you think we must do in order to, we got the right number, but the signs are up. So it looks like we could change one of these, and we can just oppositely change it. We could change this to positive and change this to negative. Want to do that? If we did that, we would have positive 10, and then we would have negative 6y, which would give us 4y, right? And so we write our answer out, as we just saw it, it is 2y plus 5, and then we have 2y minus 3, and that's the exact same answer he just gave. Wasn't that much easier?
Yeah.
Get to our answer? And so, as long as we go through the steps, and we can back up, I'm going to back up for those of you I might have been moving a little bit too fast for, just going to back it up for a little bit. So what we did was initially we had negative 5 and positive 3, and then we had to change this to plus 5 and negative 3. And then we multiplied these two here together. That gave us 10, right? And then we multiplied these two together, and that gave us negative 6, and that gave us 4y. You know, and so that's what we do. We have to multiply the inner numbers here, then you multiply the outer numbers, which that's negative 6y, right? And then we use our adding and subtraction rules. That gave us 4y. This matches this, so that way we know our answer is correct. And so this is your answer. Okay?